Alright, what's up guys, and welcome to another training session. Now, my last training session, it was pretty much a how-to video. Not all my training sessions are going to be like how to do certain things in the game. Some of them it's going to be like some pro tips, like you guys are going to get some pro advice. So I want to give you guys advice in this video on how to beat certain awakenings, big awakenings, just really strong awakenings, because I know people like to complain about, oh my goodness, this awakening is so ridiculous, it's too good. I want to show you guys ways around it, and hopefully you guys can pick up some of these tips and use them in actual battle. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, so the number one I'd say awakening that people like to complain about or say is really OP, which it is Sage of 6 Pass Moderate, his awakening. So it is really strong, and I would advise not to really fight against it. You want to stay in the air, like as I just did. You can't really fight against it. It's not something that you could just approach. He has multiple hits around his whole body, like 360, and his awakening actions just track the whole stage. So don't even try fighting it. What you really want to do is just try and survive it, to be honest, with as minimal damage as possible. Awakenings like these you can't really beat head on like other awakenings, so like I said, just try and avoid it. Try and stay in the air as much as possible, and just try and block for your life, and just really just try and survive with taking as minimal damage as possible until their awakening runs out. I say to stay in the air because you could dodge them more easier in the air, but even if they do catch you in the air, they're only going to get an air combo after, so it's not going to be a ground combo, which does more damage. So it's more optimal to try and stay in the air as much as possible. You do have the counter to try and get a counter off, to try and knock them back, but with these all these awakening actions coming at you from different angles, it's really hard to pull off. So against this awakening it's not going to work too well, but if he's up close, then that's when you want to try and use it. But be careful when you do that though, because they can bait it out, make you counter, and they don't even attack you, and then you're just left getting hit right after. There are other options to get around this awakening that you could use for other awakenings, not just this awakening specifically, that I'm going to show you after this. But yeah, but you really just, like I said, just try and stay away as much as possible and try and stall out their awakening. Pretty much any awakening you want to do that. When you're fighting against any awakening, it's always a good move to try and awaken to kind of balance out the power, so your opponent doesn't have dash priority. But basically, yeah, you just want to try and awaken if you can to try and even out the dash priority, so you don't give your opponent that power against you. Alright, so now I'm just going to be talking about fighting against big Susanos, or just any big awakening in general. They kind of all fight the same way. So you never want to dash a big awakening, mostly because it won't work. They won't even feel your dash, so it's like you're just approaching them, making it easier to hit you. So for big awakenings, you kind of want to counter at right times like that. And for big awakenings, as soon as you counter, you're able to start hitting them because they'll be stunned in your little counter. So yeah, fighting against big awakenings really is kind of a 50-50 chance to either them get a lot of damage on you or you get a lot of damage on them, because for big awakenings they do dish out big damage, but if they are close enough and you just start subbing and like attacking them, it's really hard for them to avoid it. So it's really a 50-50 to be honest. But yeah, if you got a good character that has like a good hitting button, good mash, then it could be really hard for big awakenings to start their assault on you. You could also try and stall out time, try and stall out their awakening by using your support a lot, or using a leader switch, dash a lot, try and stall out time as best as possible. But like I said, you want to try and take as minimal damage. I know that sounds very obvious, but yeah, if you could try and avoid them as much as possible, try not to approach big awakenings, then you'll have a much easier time dealing with them, because they're trying to get the damage on you. So there will be cases where you're fighting against a really good player and they'll choose a big awakening, and they know that even though they're really strong, they'll try and use it a smart way, and they'll start trying to approach you in both the regular character and then switch to their big awakening like that, and you really got to be careful, because if you sub at the wrong times, it could really cost you. Like, I already lost all my subs because he pressured me a lot with the big awakening, so you really got to be careful. But his awakening is almost out, so I stalled enough time, so now we're kind of at an even drawing field now. But like I said, you really got to be careful about that. And if you are using a big awakening, you could try and use that tactic as well. It works pretty good, but you just got to play smart with it. Another strong awakening that gives a lot of people a hard time is Nagato and Pain's awakening. Now they pretty much do the same thing, so you know it's kind of easy to explain right now. But usually what Pain's good players with awakenings like to do is just tilt into awakening action, which you know, people like to do that just because it works really well. It's very effective, and it's probably the best way to get your awakening action and, you know, draw your opponent in. But yeah, so what you really want to try and do here is use your leader switch jutsus a lot, or leader switch dash like that, to avoid them. Right there, you can actually counter the tilt, which is something I'm going to do later and show you guys. But yeah, really they do the same things over and over, so if you could avoid it just like that often, then you won't have too much trouble fighting against it, unless the opponent is really strong, obviously. That's rarely the case, honestly. People, like I said, use it the same way. So so I say to like leader switch a lot, because also awakening actions is that awakening action with the missiles, it tracks, you know, one character. So if you leader switch, it'll track the other character. So yeah, like I said, pretty much just try and avoid their awakening actions and avoid them. Honestly, I don't think it's that hard. Just, you know, try and back up. If they try to approach you, just counter. And if they try to use their awakening actions, just leader switch jutsu or leader switch dash. Either one is fine. You kind of want to avoid getting hit by the awakening actions as much as possible, because that's really what this awakening is good for, is, you know, trying to get damage with these awakening actions. And if you could avoid that, then it's really smooth sailing from there, because that's where the awakening really gets their damage from. Try not to be intimidated as well, you know, from approaching them too, because like I said, awakenings don't make them invincible. You know, they're still vulnerable at times, but yeah, you could still, you know, attack them and whatnot. So like I said, they kind of generally, for these awakenings, they generally abuse their tilts, but try and use misdirection like that, pretty much where you use a character that has a jutsu that launches them far away, and then you switch to them, and then now you're at a different place, you know, far away from them. Technique is really useful, you know, in any situation really, not just against awakenings, but when you want to get away from your opponent. It's a very strong tactic. So yeah, I advise you guys to try doing it, try practicing it. It's really just a leader switch jutsu, and then if you're getting hits, then obviously got to sub it or something, but switch a little bit after, so when they're trying to approach you, you're somewhere else already. So like I was saying before, guys, don't play too defensive when they awaken, because your guard is going to break and you're just going to be running the whole time, and if they catch you, you know, it's going to be really bad. You're going to take a lot of damage. So don't play defense the whole time. Try and, you know, show that you could attack them too. Like, you know, play a little defense and then go in a little bit. Don't overcommit, you know, and trying to get a whole, you know, combo in, because, you know, eventually they're going to sub. So, you know, try and keep away as much as possible, and then, you know, at times, if you feel the moment is right, try and go in a little bit and stall the awakening as fast as possible. I'm sure that awakening seemed like it lasted for only like 5 seconds, but, you know, that's just what happens when you guys stall time. Alrighty, so here I'm going to show you guys, you know, how to stall time a little bit more. I'm going to try and much explain as I go. So if you're already in their tilt range to get pulled in, don't even try attacking them, because the tilt is going to catch you. So yeah, try and block everything and then go in at the same time if you can when they're vulnerable. When they tilt, they're kind of vulnerable if you like block it or if you sub it, so try and, you know, get a little combo in, pressure, and you know, a little bit of leader switching to try and stall out time. Don't forget the option that you guys can tilt through Pain's combos. You can't tilt through Nagato's combos, so don't even try it. But if you have a character that can tilt through Pain's combos, quick tilt, then I advise you to use it like that. It forces them to, you know, sub, because they want to try and get as much damage in before their awakening runs out. So you already know they're going to try and get damage as quick as possible. So obviously that hit was gonna come. I countered, that bought me some time to get away and try and set something else up. But yeah, like I said, awakenings, they're always gonna try and get damage in as soon as possible. So just know that, and you know, if they don't try and hit you as soon as possible, then that's just the game. You gotta try and read your opponent, get a feel for if they're trying to play smart, if they're trying to bait a counter, then you know that's just all on you to play smart. Alright, so here I'm going to show you guys what I mean by leader dashing to stall out time. I'm going to throw Jugo at him, and then I'm going to counter. You could see, you guys can counter his tilt, so that's always an option. If you guys feel like he's about to tilt, use the counter, and see right there, if I felt like he was going to tilt, but I didn't counter in time. You know, that's just, you know, the game. You got to predict these things, and you got to execute as much as possible. And look at that, like the tilt, I mean the awakening lasted, like it felt like it lasted so short, but it was, you know, just me stalling time. That's what happens, you know, when you do everything correctly. If you stall out time, if you throw your support at him, you know, leader switch jutsu like that, you know, knock them away. If you just block correctly, try and avoid their awakening action damage, then you know, it's really on them to try and come at you. So you know, if you played your defense right, then you could just stall the timeout, and then you know, now they're out of awakening, and then you know, they're vulnerable to take a lot of damage, because as you guys know, once your awakening runs out, then you know, you start taking a lot more damage. So you know, then that's when you'll have the advantage. But like I said, try and do, you know, leader switch jutsus like that, and don't just throw it out there. Make sure, you know, you see them coming and do it at that time to leader switch jutsu. Don't just throw it out there, or else, you know, they're just gonna dodge it, and then it's a waste of your support. So don't waste your support so easily, and try and calculate, you know, when they're gonna come, and use your support a lot more efficiently. Alright, so now I'm gonna show you guys what happens when you use a big awakening and you pretty much want to get a lot of damage in yourself. So pretty much, you know, get your awakening in, and you know that they want to counter you, so you want to try and, you know, dash bait them into countering. Itachi's big awakening, his grab does that thing where it's really unblockable unless they counter it, so I guess not unblockable. But yeah, you want to see, you gotta dash and then, you know, bait them out for that counter, and then, you know, they're vulnerable. But he's doing a pretty good job in stalling out the time, but I did a pretty good job in getting a lot of damage. I did a whole bar worth of damage. For big awakenings, you kind of want to dash bait them. You want to dash, stop, dash. You know, if you feel like they're still going to counter you, you know, do a little bit more dash baiting. And then start going in as soon as you get close up. Don't even worry about them countering. See, you got to stop, dash. You know, it's at times like that when you just got to play, you know, a little bit more cautious. You know, alright, they think I'm going to keep mashing. That's when you stop mashing, and then you bait out a counter like that, and then you're able to get more damage in. So whether you're using the big awakening or you're fighting against it, you gotta really be cautious of these, because these can dish out a lot of damage very quickly. And yeah, you gotta be careful again of the person you're fighting against it, because if they get in like this, they break guards pretty easily too, I'd say. So yeah, if they just get one dash in when you run out of subs, it could be really bad. So the last awakening that I'm going to be talking about is Danzo's awakening. Now for this particular awakening, you want to really try and conserve your subs as much as possible. Now if you guys notice, when he's doing his hits, if he's close up, it does a lot of damage, but if he's hitting you from far away, his wind slices don't do a lot. It's only when he gets up close. So another thing, that the reason why you got to conserve your subs the most for this awakening is because he's the only character that has an awakening action that does a one-hit KO. If he catches you on the ground and you have no substitutes in a combo, all he has to do is do a one-hit KO awakening action, and then, you know, you lost the whole fight. You know, it doesn't matter how much life you have, how much you've been stalling him. If he gets off that one-hit KO, it's all been for nothing. So try and conserve your substitutes as much as possible. And even if you are taking a lot of damage, you know, if you have that one, you're hanging on to that one support or that one substitute, you know, just take as much as you think is worth it. And then, you know, if you have to waste that last sub because you're taking too much damage, then do it. But only if you have, you know, a plan after. If you have support that'll protect you, or at least stall time until his awakening runs out, you know, then You know, just do what you think is worth it. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. That's all the big awakenings that I really wanted to talk about. You know, the really big key ones that do, you know, a lot of damage and, you know, players have a hard time dealing with. But yeah, I know there are a lot of awakenings that, you know, are still a problem. You know, third Hokage and you know, the other Susanos, other big awakenings, you know, you got to deal with them a little bit different, but you know, generally they're kind of all the same in their own right. But like I said, if you guys have any questions about, you know, fighting any awakenings or anything, then let me know in the comments and I'll try and, you know, give you guys some more tips if you guys need them. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about, you know, fighting awakenings. So what I actually wanted to do before I ended my last guide video was actually tell you guys this. For my next upcoming pro tip videos, I want you guys to tell me what you guys want to see, what do you guys have questions about, you know, if it's anything at all, even if it's something I already covered in my previous, you know, guides and stuff like that. Just for my pro tip videos, it's going to be a mashup of all the questions that you guys have for me, and all put in one video. So it's not going to be one specific topic like this pro tip video was, which was only awakening. I just wanted to make this one just so you guys can pretty much ask me the questions that you guys are interested in, not just something, you know, that I just thought of making. So yeah, we could start that all off today, and you guys could start putting in your comments, your questions in the comments. You know, what you guys want to figure out, or what you guys want to know about the game, you know, anything, and then I'll put it all together in one video. So yep, that's all I have to say, guys. Peace out.